What's your name?
9-0.
I'm Destin.
My name
And
is
you're
Ryan.
from?
I am originally from
The
Memphis,
captain
Tennessee, and I
is
reside in
Dylan.
Dallas,
Dylan is the
Texas.
captain. Make this
So I'm just interested, Esteem, only to share whatever
You're going to hear me say throughout the tour, look to your left, look to your right.
to share
When I
just
say
some of
look to your
the
left, I'm referring to the captain's left.
economic
When I say look to your right, I'm referring to the
and
captain's right.
social guardrails in the country.
So, for example, right now, the captain's right would be Manhattan. The
Many
captain's
which
left would be
means
New Jersey.
really anyone from any walk of life, whether they have a job, whether they don't, whether they're on some sort of government support, can get any kind of essentially access to anything.
If this is your first time in New York City,
I guess a safety net in terms of both if someone loses work, they get money from the government to support basic housing and accommodation. So my understanding was it's very different here. And
It's
so,
very different.
yeah,
very different here.
Yeah.
So, it's layered. So there is government assistance. I would not say that it's not, but it's layered and it's very complicated. So, for example, there are things like WIC that will provide food, and baby formula, things like that, and
is the
everything.
food stamps?
Yes, food stamps, EBT, but it's for specifically like low income. And a lot of the services are only geared towards single parents, specifically single mothers. So there are things like called Section 8. Are you familiar with Section 8?
No.
Section 8 is a housing program that allows for citizens to gain lower income or like fixed income, subsidized rent into certain houses and everything in certain areas. And it's a voucher that essentially covers your housing based on your income. However, if you are
This is nationwide
this is
initiative?
nationwide, but you're not allowed to have a man live with you.
No.
So if you say you were married, or so, you might not be eligible for it if there's a male in your home. And they do check to make sure. So there are people where they might have a significant other that is living with them. If they break up and get upset, they can go and let them know, the government know that, I was living here and I can prove it, and they will lose their voucher for that no matter what their income is. So there are things like that.
And so is that just for females, or it's for males that are also meeting certain thresholds in income and dependency and need and that kind of thing?
I'm not sure, but what I can say is that in all my years, I've never heard of a male being on Section. It's always a single mother. And it's rap. So like there's the WIC, there's EBT, there is Section 8 housing, and there's free child care. I actually own a child care, and I would say about 80% of our students are being subsidized through the government to pay for child care. Child care here, a good price for it is $250 a week. So you're looking at about $1,250, $1,000 a month just in child care alone for one child.
Is that for everyone in society or the people in Section 8?
Well, this is for everyone.
Because in Australia it's about $250
And
a
if you
day,
look at the
potentially,
Hudson Yard, you'll
childcare.
notice there's a
That's one thing where the
colored
different.
structure.
It is.
Yeah.
Right in the
Is that right? $250 a day in
Yeah.
Australia? Yeah.
But the government subsidizes a lot of people, and that's based on the income, and there are different programs to subsidize that. There are programs, but I was just telling you, there are things like the wrong medical diagnosis at the right time to make.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So in Australia, we said we have a safety net for hospitals.
Right.
And in America, you need to have insurance. And how much does that cost roughly?
Everything that you see
On your employer. So if you have an employer, your employer is going to cover the large portion of it if you're lucky.
everything that you
You're like,
see on your right
corporate role,
side
usually that's
is
embedded
Hoboken, New
into some
Jersey.
salary package.
And a lot of people specifically work in careers they don't want to just for the benefits.
Just the, yeah.
So a lot of people might want to freelance and barter their field or things like that. They're not able to because then you might have a medical diagnosis. Like I have a friend who has lupus,
Yes.
and she has to stay in that role because if not, then it would wipe her out.
Yeah.
100 years later, November
If you're someone who's
26th, the
working
first
at a
NBA
fast
basketball
food
game. The Toronto Huskies versus the New York
manual
That
job
name is
that
synonymous
I presume that
sports
typically
history.
would cover health
Here they are.
insurance, or it would in
They
most.
made sports history
So your
look
hours.
nice.
So if you are working full time, which is 40 hours a week,
50 points.
typically
50
your
points.
employer will cover a portion of your medical
King will do
insurance
this.
monthly.
Would
I
they?
think this is our year.
But it just depends.
It just
There are, so
depends.
with me, I had a medical scare where I had to go and get tested for breast cancer. that's considered a
13 months
specialty because I had to go to like specific doctors to get the scanning, that mammogram done. And I'm under the age of 40, so they really don't want to cover mammograms, even if they suspect it's cancer. So I had to pay $1,400 to get a mammogram
These
done.
3 pairs right here.
Which would be free in Australia.
They are in blue.
Mammogram.
That is called Chelsea pairs. They were built in 29.
It's one of the things I was talking to my wife Rita about the other day, that
Chelsea pairs.
governments and countries, they're often assessed on
green pair.
gross domestic product.
That's the marine and aviation.
But that doesn't take into account, for example, inequality, or it doesn't take into account life expectancy.
Right.
And in the United States, I know that life expectancy since the 70s has been on a marked decline.
It's about 75.
Now, all of the
Yeah, but it's come down a lot. And a lot of that, I think, is due to when China came into the World Trade Organization,
Today
the
you have
manufacturing went
restaurants, shops,
to China,
100
and one
years
of the
ago,
things that
we
he
went
has made Trump popular that he wanted to bring manufacturing back home. But again, a lot of these things we're talking about don't get reflected in a lot of the initial data that people look at. Particularly in America now, the economy has been driven so strongly by the wealth effect of artificial intelligence bots that's keeping the share market high, and all of the capex spending one very small part of the economy.
And you notice,
So I
little
don't.
white pillars.
Did you want to tell us about your study you're doing?
Absolutely. So I am creating I'm currently working on my dissertation for
Now,
a
what
doctorate
happens
of
here on
information,
the
and my
Jersey side,
study is about
we are moving from
the
one
Queen Bee
town to
syndrome and
another.
how it disproportionately affects
We are
Black women
moving
within
from
organizations.
Hoboken
So I'm studying
to Jersey
within the
City.
education space,
Everything that you're doing
nonprofit,
now is
corporations,
Jersey City.
and even the
All of these
medical field.
airlines,
And
Jersey City has become one of the hottest
highlights
places to
and
live
researches the
because of
reason
its
why
proximity
systemic
to
racism
Minneapolis.
and misogyny
90% of
plays
those
a part
highlights
in
were from
how
the last 12 years.
women of color perceive other women of color in their space, specifically when they are younger, by 10, 20, sometimes even 30 years. And they believe, whether it is conscious or unconsciously, that because they struggled on their way up, they need to inflict that same struggle upon another woman of color in order for her to rise, or sometimes even prevent her from rising as a whole.